A caminhada era pouco ao sul do Douro e pouco ao sul de Lamego. E estava chovendo, não teve reservado hotel, então a cena geral, chuva e falta de lugar para passar a noite. E última coisa, tinha caído alguns dias antes e minha cabeça teve em cima grande bandage, então parecia pouco como pirata ou bandido. Então, imagina que estou andando ao sul de Lamego na chuva, querendo lugar para passar a noite. With nightfall approaching, I went into a bar in the village of Penude and asked the man serving whether he knew of anywhere to lodge in those parts. He said Father Adriano in the parish social centre next door would sort me out. I went there and got no further than the receptionist. I still had a bandage wrapped around my head, the legacy of my fall in Porto, and I think the receptionist immediately put me down as an undesirable, so there was no bed for me at the Catholic centre. The woman at the desk gave me the name of a restaurant a few kilometres further on and suggested I try there. In steadily falling rain, I marched on. A woman on the other side of the road saw me, crossed over the road and thrust her umbrella into my hands. I was wearing waterproofs, top and bottom, but she felt this was not enough. A few days earlier, another woman had stretched her arm out of a car window and given me a floppy hat. This kind of kindness is touching, and I warmed to the Portuguese. Still in the rain, a few kilometres further on, I spied another cafe and decided to make inquiries again. Now this is where the story of that evening started to get messy. But if the traveller omits all instances of messiness and puts out a narrative reeking of tidiness, this distorts the truth. So I went into the second cafe, and the woman serving said she knew a place where I could stay. She provided no details and insisted on treating me to a free soup. After my soup, since nothing seemed to be happening, I asked her where she had in mind for my lodgings. "The parish social centre in Penude," said she. My heart sank, and I explained that this establishment had already turned me away. At this point, another person stepped on stage into this little playlet. I'll call him Prize Fighter. Now, Prize Fighter had been busy in the small bar, making a nuisance of himself, going right up to other men and loudly spoiling for a fight. He now decided to take up metaphorical cudgels on my behalf. He phoned the priest whose social centre had sent me away. Although almost certainly drunk, Prize Fighter was very well mannered in his conversation with Father Adriano. He appealed to the priest's humanity and Christian calling and painted a desperate picture of my plight. The priest held firm, and Prize Fighter conceded defeat. According to my benefactor's account of the conversation, Father Adriano said he had room for pilgrims walking north to Santiago de Compostela in Spain. But it was not his job to help unknown quantities heading south. Prize Fighter was not finished yet. He phoned the restaurant a few kilometres ahead that might have rooms. He got a no from them too. With his job done, he bade us all good night and left. Meanwhile, it was still raining and night had fallen. There now followed a long conversation in the bar about my options. This ended with a man whom I'll call driver telling me to jump in his car and we would head south prospecting for lodgings. Another man from the bar came too, so we were a proper little expedition. We drove about 10 kilometres and driver turned off the main road into a hamlet called Bigon. He parked opposite a restaurant and in we went. One man stood alone in the restaurant and I put him down as the owner. Driver sketched out my flight, including the no from Father Adriano. The man listened carefully. Of generous girth, He had eyes that were both warm and shrewd. It became clear that he was not going to turn me away. Before he left, Driver told me that the man offering me a room was a Roman Catholic priest. His name was Father Agostinho Ramalho Pereira. Soon I was seated at a family dinner with Father Agostinho, his mother, his divorced sister Maria, and her teenage daughter. Maria, it turned out, ran the restaurant next door, which explained Father Agostinho's presence there earlier. We tucked into a saucepan full of boiled chestnuts. I was less nimble-figured than my fellow diners, and every now and then Father Agostinho would hand me a chestnut which he had extracted whole from its skin. We washed the chestnuts down with red wine from the Douro and then moved on to some chicken soup.